like it truly was like watching one of us. It was like watching one of us out there, a Geordie lad just running about, tearing about, desperate for his team to win. I was dead impressed with him. I was dead impressed with a few performances. Strange, really. Some fringe players really stepping to the fore, with Javier Manquillo doing the same, and others as well. But no, how do you solve a problem like Sean Longstaff? Get a grip of what he really is. I think that's the issue. Find out what is Sean Longstaff. Is he the slightly further forward advanced midfielder who can maybe play as a 10, who can get in the box, who can score goals from the edge of the box with either foot? Is he the one who can sit in and at one point in his career looked like he had a load of time on the ball? Or is he neither? Is he a bit of a can go both ways? I don't know how many games he's got under his belt, but I still don't think we really know what Sean Longstaff is, despite seeing him a lot of times. And I do think there's a player in there, as I've always said on here, but I think we're running out of time really to work out whether we're going to truly see that at Newcastle United. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens in the next. I think he'd be all right. I think he'd probably get a new deal. Would be my suspicion, and I think he'll probably end up staying. But we'll have to be interesting to see what happens in the summer, because it does feel like a crossroads for the player himself, because he's a player of talent, but I'm just not sure what that talent is at the moment. And that's not really a good thing to be saying about a midfielder who I would guess has probably played 100 games for Newcastle United.
Okay, apologies because people now missed the start of the programme because I was so busy trying to sort the sound out that I forgot to press go live. Wow, what a great start this has been to the show. Apologies if there's any sound issues. I think we've managed to stop the sound issues. It's just technical problem with my headphones at this end. That's the reason that there might have been an issue, but I think we've got it sorted. So apologies for being late. We're here now. Tom Dixon has got the next question. It just means that I've got to ask the question, mute my mic, and then bring Liam in. Tom Dixon says, Liam, what is the latest on Jesse Lingard, Diego Carlos, and Dele Alli? And is there anything on getting a striker?
So I think Lingard's one that isn't going away. I think, as I've said with Trippier, I think at this stage it looks like unless there is a particular change of heart, I think it is likely he's probably going to be allowed to leave. We know the situation. Ideally, Manchester United would rather sell him. They're not keen on getting rid to a London club in West Ham or Tottenham. And West Ham in particular is the one that he wants to go to. I think he's made that quite clear. And I think that's probably why he wants to keep his options open, given the in the summer he could this could be his real last big wage packet. He's 28 going on 29. I think he wants to be a free transfer in the summer, and I think he wants to have his options open, and I think he'd ideally rather go to London. So I think if we purely treat the Jesse Lingard situation as a 6 month sticking plaster at Newcastle United, which probably won't go any further, then I think if you evaluate it in those terms, and I think it's an excellent signing. It really is an excellent signing. Has a potential to get goals, create problems for opposition teams. How he fits in the team, I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm sure they'll find a way if they're particularly keen on getting him in. Diego Carlos, again, a lot of confidence that this deal get done from certain quarters. I'm not going to stick my neck on the line and say it gets done, but it's looking more likely than isn't at the moment. I do have those Sven Botman type fears, though, that I think they could be getting led down the garden path by a football club who maybe don't quite want to sell. Or we could just be in the same situation where they're just desperately trying to squeeze more and more money out of it. But there is a confidence. I think it's hard to share that confidence after the Botman one, because there's real distinct parallels between the two chases, which could easily be revisited again in this final week of the window. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I think. Look, my stance on it was there another player there. Dele Alli, yes, Dele Alli has been offered, and it's just whether the football club take that up. It's been one where it's an easy deal to do because of the agency that he's represented by. Have good contacts with Newcastle United, so I think if it's needed, that one can get done. And some may argue that Ali's potentially a better player than Lingard. Ali's more likely to have a bit more longevity to it, I would imagine. He's a younger player, of course. But again, it's one you have to shoehorn into the system. Dele Alli played in midfield, has really struggled for Tottenham. Played as a forward for Tottenham, just off the front as a 10, was excellent, was arguably one of the best in that role. As a maybe 21-year-old, was probably one of the best on the planet at the time. Incredible player under Mauricio Pochettino. Has lost his way and doesn't fit in any system that Tottenham have used since under Mourinho and Conte in particular. Does he fit in this Newcastle United system? Would you need a complete rejig to fit him into the side? Probably, yeah. So again, it's one that doesn't fit. I don't know if Eddie Howe's settled on a defined system. I think he's working on a number of things, so it's hard to say maybe it doesn't fit, but I think you have to make adjustments to the way Newcastle United play if you sign either Jesse Lingard or Dele Alli. But I think both are definitely on the agenda and could well happen. And I want to say my little piece as well, that I think, I'll be honest, last week I felt in the main there was a negativity because of the on-field situation. And the one thing that I was asking for, and I think every fan was asking for, was for the footballers to go out and prove that they can go and win a football match and just take control of their own destiny and ease that pain, ease that angst. And they did exactly that. And actually, it's freed Newcastle United fans in many ways, that result. That yes, the situation hasn't materially changed. We're still in the bottom three. We're still staring relegation in the face potentially. But it means you can kind of enjoy these last few days with no game coming up, because the positivity has been there constantly throughout with the off-field things that are going on. It's been the on-field that's been bringing it down. We've been freed of that, and freed even more by the fact that they put 3 points on the board for only the second time this season. So I'm actually really positive and looking forward to this. Yes, I get the idea there is a lot of work to be done, but often there is at the back end of January windows. There hasn't been a whole lot of business done this January window. Newcastle United have been the busiest in terms of spending, I think. And I would anticipate that by the 11 o'clock, I think it is, next Monday, I think you would find that Newcastle United probably would have spent the most money, unless there is a mega deal pulled off somewhere, which at this stage doesn't look likely. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons to be reasonably positive. And I think if I was to put my neck on the line, if someone asked, I would say I would imagine they'll at least get 4 deals done between now and the end of the window. And I think 6 players in a January would be a very good return.
Okay. The next question is from Craig. He just says, it's touching on what you mentioned before. Spurs have offered Seville, Lo Celso and money for Carlos. Do you think our messing around with the price will cost us? I mean, there's been a basic price mentioned yesterday, 37.5, 38 million, I think it was. The player seems to want to come to Newcastle. I mean, is that one, do you think, that could go to the death?
Yeah, I think it could. It could be one that drags on, but there is a confidence it can get done. One thing that overlooks is that seen as a better deal than just receiving the cash. It may well be, it may well not be. By the selling club, they might want the cash in the bank and be able to spend it on another centre half that they might be looking at. So I don't know if that's a better deal or a worse deal. I'm not in the same mindset as a lot of people out there. I think a lot of people are so quick to want to criticise, and it's just the framing of that question. Even that's no criticism Craig had put in. The framing of that question, the messing around, it's always a negative connotation on the fact that they're just trying to get a good deal. They're just trying to get a good deal. They're not messing anybody around. They're trying to sign good players who football clubs don't want to sell. We're not shopping in the bargain bin anymore. So it's not going to be easy to do deals. Chelsea found this with Sevilla last year. They found this with the other centre-half, Koundé. They found it. They thought they had that deal and they couldn't get it because ultimately they didn't really want to sell. So, look, it's tough and it will be tough, but I've got absolute faith that they will get deals done. They're working around the clock to do this, and there will be even more players become available over the next few days. This is when it's the only real point of the year where things get absolutely mental. Like, players suddenly become available and nobody ever thought. And there's a rush that normally takes place over the case of about 3 weeks in the summer, happens within about 3 days in January. And it's great. It's box office. And just be thankful when you've got all this negativity and anger that I haven't got him yet, and like all this kind of mentalness. God, man, we're in the fight this time. We're actually in the mix. This isn't going to be the deadline day where you say, oh, what's Keith Downey doing out there this the day? Or what's he doing there? They're not going to sign anybody. Not going to be like that this time. They are actually trying to sign footballers. And it isn't going to be Mike Ashley's bizarre, just make it look like we're doing something approach, which was how it was described to me from somebody well-connected recently. It's actually going to be a football club wanting to sign footballers. Just be thankful for it. I am. I'm excited by that prospect.
Question there from Sorted one way or another, and it's, hey lads, a question for both of you. In the light of the Leeds result, do you believe that we will get the required points to stay in the division? I mean, for me, I've been on a roller coaster. I mean, this week, after spending a bit of time with other fans, Holly and her dad, Holly's been so negative and realistic, you would call it, some would call it, about Newcastle United's chances of staying up. And the journey down to Leeds, I've got to be honest, I didn't expect anything. I predicted a 3-1 defeat. Couldn't see how Newcastle were going to get anything out of the game. And like everybody else, came back with sore limbs and a smile on my face and 3 points in the bag. So, yeah, I do. I think the way the results went this weekend was the polar opposite of the way they went for the Norwich game, the Watford game, sorry. And you're looking at the table again with a newfound optimism. You're looking at the Everton game now and thinking 2 weeks off, players are going to come back a little bit fitter. They're going to have bonded. We'll have new players in the dressing room again. 1 or 2 players might have gone, but it's a positive. And we're going into the Everton game with our tails up. Everton's tails are down. It's a home game. I think, Newcastle are back in the mix. They've got to win that game, though. And I said, go back, watch NUFC Matters a couple of weeks ago, before we got to these 3 games. Watford, Leeds, Everton. I said we needed 7 points out of them. We've got 4. We'll beat Everton, we've got 7. Then we're on to the next block of fixtures. There's another set of 4 fixtures. Couple of hard ones in there, but a couple of winnable games as well. Again, I'll have a look at that. You set your target. That's what Eddie Howe will be doing. That's what he'll be drumming into the players. And depending on the results, it could see Newcastle claw themselves away. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to run this. I think there's going to be a lot of chopping and changing. And Newcastle have just got to keep themselves in the mix. That's where we're at. That's my answer to the question. Liam, what about you? Thanks to all our sponsors. Spider VPN for all your internet security. Google Spider VPN. They come up at the top of the Google search list. They are the boys to trust and will protect your computer from unwanted bugs. Skipsandbins.com. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy contract, free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks also to L&G Family Funeral Directors, 0191 389 7245, and to Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD hemp and cannabinoid specialists, www.gohd.com. Thanks also to Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen necessities. You can find them at the bottom of Heaton Road, and Google Arcot Interiors. They come up at the top of the Google search list. Thanks also to qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wales and Newcastle, and the guys who run our website, nufcmatters.com. Thanks also to jabsignature.co.uk for all of the flyers that they do for us. Thanks to Media Arts for all the video work.
If you're a first-time visitor to the channel, please subscribe. Hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner, and that's it. You can subscribe for free. We still do 7 shows a week, and they are all free. Hit the thumb up underneath the video to like it. Click share to your social media, and drop into the comments box to speak to like-minded Newcastle fans. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes and Spotify and other podcast providers. The show usually goes up 24 hours after the show. If you want to join the NUFC Matters cult and get a cup, a pen, a scarf and your membership card and entry into the monthly draw, put your phone over this QR code and it will take you straight to the website. Failing that, go to nufcmatters.com and become a member. If you want to come and see Malcolm MacDonald pre-match or post-match, we are at the Dog and Parrot. It's kid-friendly and it goes great food and beer, and you can come and meet Malcolm in person before the match or after the match during the season. Make a donation to the food bank via nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk. The matchday bucket is operational 365 days of the year. If you want to follow us on social media, then go to NUFC Matters. We've got a Facebook group and we've got a Facebook page. And if you're into the true crime stuff that we do, then follow Steve Wraith's True Crime Interviews, and that is a Facebook group. My personal Twitter follow-on page is @Steve Wraith, and Instagram is Steve Wraith. Give me a follow on there too.
Still waiting for Liam to come back. He's clearly having some technical issues. Can't get a hold of him on the phone. He did try to come back into the green room. I'm sure he will be back, so I'll go through the comments. Geordie Toomba Life says, we got rid of Ashley, then Bruce. No matter what happens this season, I'm more than happy. It would be great if we get better players in this window, but if we don't, thank God who owns us now. I think that's a great way to be, Geordie Toomba Life, to be honest. We did get rid of the biggest parasite at the club, and yeah, we should be thankful for small mercies, I think, in a lot of ways. And as Liam said a couple of minutes ago, at least we're at the races now. At least we're actually trying to bring in players where we've got that big opportunity. Here's Liam back. I'm just going to knock you on to silent, mate. 2 seconds. While the team and Amanda are in Saudi, who is doing the deals for players coming in, Liam?
Sorry for that. I've just had some internet issues. It's been a right nightmare for you, Steve, this morning, hasn't it? We'll get the show out eventually. Good question. Who's doing the deals? All of the same people who were doing the deals previously is the answer to that. It doesn't matter location and where they are and what their primary focus is absolutely still on getting transfers and getting deals done this window. So yeah, the same people who were negotiating the deal. So here we're talking about Eddie Howe and Jason Tyndall involved with Steve Nixon and Amanda and identifying, and it's Nixon and Amanda themselves who are really doing the dirty work on the deals, getting stuff over the line. And of course, you've got people still in this country, the likes of Mirdad, possibly the Rubens and others, still in this country who can do bits and bobs if they're needed on the ground in the UK.
John Askew says, morning everyone. Carlos apparently has a mistake in him and concedes penalties. It wouldn't break my heart if we didn't get him. What's your view on that, Liam?
John, what you got to do is ask yourself, is he better than Jamal Lascelles? Is he better than Kieran Clark? And now I haven't got a encyclopedic knowledge of La Liga, but I don't think the bloke's playing for the second, someone fighting for the title or Champions League spots in Spain, and commanded the kind of fees he does if he's comparable to Emil Kraft playing centre half or Kieran Clark. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Jason says, although the January market was always going to be difficult, looking in from the outside, the club have been careful. They have a valuation for Carlos, and so does Seville, I guess. Sutty asks this question. He says he sees on Twitter that Middlesbrough might be interested in Jeff Hendrick. Would be good for both club and player as he's wasting a spot in the 23-man squad. What's your thoughts on that? And is there any mileage in that one?
Yeah, I think Jeff Hendrick is one of the first players that will be out the door in the next few days, and I think there will be takers. Like you said, a lot of Championship clubs will be interested in a player of his quality, abilities. Of course, they're not what we want, but I think there'll be plenty of takers. Jeff Hendrick, Dwight Gale,
Kieran Clark, probably Freddie Woodman. I think these are the type of names that we're probably looking at who'll be trimmed from the squad. Matt Ritchie could be one. I think there'll be a lot of movement, but I think they'll want to get players through the door first. Because as it stands at present, they've got a 25-man squad, 4 of which are goalkeepers. One of those goalkeepers drops out immediately. That only leaves one player to be trimmed from the 25-man squad at present. So I think we'll see considerable. Once we see another 2-3 players through the door, I think that's when you'll start seeing people dropping off the 25-man list.
Is the Botman deal dead, or is it still ongoing, says Tim Cairns? He still thinks it might go through because money talks.
Right, is the bottom deal there, but I don't know about that one. So Botman, you're right, money does talk. I just get the sense that that's a deal that probably will have to wait till the summer. That's my understanding of it. But like I say, it becomes silly season. It was described to me in the weeks heading up to the window that this January was going to be like the Wild West when it came to Newcastle United with everybody in and around them trying to get deals done. And the next few days, I think that'll only ramp up.
Geordie Tune for Life says Botman's very unhappy with Lille. They are pricing him out the market. Any chance of going back for him as Lille need the money? Bazza Dixon reckons that the Botman deal will be announced while the team is in Saudi. The owners will want to unveil one of the new acquisitions at home. Simple Scott saw you on the train. He says, I seen Liam on the train on the way to Leeds. Good crack and was great to meet you. Given that away performance, do you think we can now kick on and Eddie Howe can keep us up?
Good to meet you, Scott. Yeah, I think when we were talking, it was probably all negativity, wasn't it, on that train journey across from York to Leeds? Yeah, I did. I think that's the only thing that I was really worried about was that this team looked like it was an outfit that didn't know how to win a football match anymore. They'd lost that real crisis of confidence was drilling home into the very being of this Newcastle United team, and they showed on Saturday they can. I mean, Leeds on great, and they ran out of steam in that second half. But I think there was a lot to like about that Newcastle United performance, just given the circumstance, really. The fact that they hadn't held on to Leeds, they'd gifted so many away, but they did. They not only were they resolute in holding on to a lead, they didn't do the retreat back 15 yards thing in the second half. There were the team in the second half who looked more likely to score and go on and get more goals. Having got that one, and there was a lot to like about that too. There was a togetherness. I've said this all along, and I said this last week, even when I was critical, is that they are a good group. There is a togetherness there. I just wondered, had it gone a step too far? Had this had a negative impact, the whole takeover thing, and the idea that they might well be out the door quicker than they probably would have been under a previous regime for under par performances? But they're proving what I said, some of that wrong, and I want them to do that. I want this team to prove critics wrong. We've got to go out there and stay in this division, because I see a lot of people on social media talk about, it wouldn't be a bad thing to go into and dropping it out of the division and maybe press reset on a few things. You can do that in the Premier League. There's no need to drop out. There isn't a silver lining to dropping out of the Premier League, even though you want to take positives from it. There is no silver lining. It is a negative experience, and it will be a negative experience for the football club. It will be deeply damaging for egos of people who brought this football club. It'd potentially be transformative for the ownership model. Relegation is not something that we want at this football club. It has to be avoided at all costs, and we need those players who showed they've got that fight and fire in their belly to do that week in, week out, and I'm not needing them to go and beat everybody. Just win enough games to keep their heads above water. That's all we need this season.
Okay, any truth that we are in for Yves Bissouma at Brighton?
It is a name that I've heard mentioned quite a bit, to be honest. I think the one that the thing about that one is the fee. I've always thought it was a bit high. But I mean, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see if they do go in for that deal. But it's a big fee, and it would take a lot of money to prize him away from Brighton, and it would take a lot of convincing for the player to come to. the player I think has eyes on a top 4 move potentially in the summer. I'm led to believe. So I think it would take quite a bit of persuading. But I would never say never. I think, as somebody said earlier, the money does talk, and it could easily be persuasive in this situation.
Okay, Gordy asks me a question. He says, Steve, if someone said in 2007 you'd have one of the worst owners ever, but after 14 years you would have the richest owners in the world, would you have accepted it? Of course I would, Gordy. 100%, definitely. And I mean, look, Mike Ashley wasn't the greatest of owners, but he didn't take us down to the second division, did he? He didn't, not for the want to try in mind. But look, there's plenty of negatives about Mike Ashley's reign, but that there are probably a lot worse that we could have had, put it that way, in hindsight. As I say, history is a wonderful thing. Sutty would go over Tarkowski and Cody, if both clubs were willing to listen to offers from Newcastle. I think that's a little bit, pie in the sky at this moment in time with regards to Cody. I think that's a potential summer signing. I really do. Tarkowski, of course, somebody that's constantly linked, Liam, and again, he's at Burnley, and Burnley financially aren't in a great place. Tarkowski might be another one that could end up here sooner rather than later. You never know.
It could be one that gets done. I think the Cody one's just, again, you're probably right saying pie in the sky. I just don't see a Wolves side who don't need the money, who are pushing for Europe this season, would sell their most influential player. Football doesn't work like that. So you can say you want somebody all you like, but it ain't going to happen. I think beyond that, Tarkowski could be one, because Burnley, as somebody said, Burnley do need the money. They do need the money. Strange ownership model and situation that their previous owners invited them into at the moment. So I think that could be an issue. They took the money on Chris Wood, and they're still looking for more money. It's not like they're looking to go and spend that. When the key teller on this one is, so put Newcastle United in the same situation as what Burnley are, and we sold Callum Wilson for 25 million when we bought Chris Wood. Burnley haven't signed a replacement yet, nor has it been talked about they're going to sign a £25 million replacement either. They're in trouble. They need money, and their situation is pretty dire, if you ask me. The place would be absolutely toxic. Newcastle would be, if we'd sold Callum Wilson, and 2.5 weeks later, 2 weeks later, there was still no striker had come through the door, and there was no sign of one coming through the door. I think it's like that Chris Wood stinks of like the Andy Carroll sort of time, and it's happened much earlier, and they still haven't replaced. I think they will, but they'll not go out and spend big money, I would imagine, on a centre forward, because I just don't get the feeling that the big money's there at Burnley. So could you test their resolve with a Tarkowski again? The word I've been hearing on Tarkowski is, up until quite recently, was that it's more likely he leaves in the summer. It's more likely that he leaves on a free in the summer and again assesses his options. But I think if Burnley were willing sellers, I think Newcastle United are willing buyers when it comes to Tarkowski.
Okay, Vince Smith says, morning, first time messaging, been struggling a bit with my mental health and had to ignore Newcastle as so negative under Ashley. Since takeover, we've got our club back and I'm just looking forward. Vince, great news, great to hear, mate. Never be afraid to reach out to somebody, mate. It's very important that. But well done, mate, and welcome back into the Newcastle fold. It is a lot happier these days. Darren Lee Wells says, once the game against Leeds got going, it was fantastic to watch. We need to score more goals, but an incredible 3 points in a way. Out of both games this season, we have been the better side. Ron is asking you a question. He says, Liam, do you think the sponsorship deals will be revealed while the teams are in Saudi Arabia?
It's not my understanding at all, no. No, I think the ball is rolling on the sponsorship deals, but I've never been told or given the any intimations that the new sponsors was imminent. It could be. Look, don't get us wrong. I could be being pushed down a wrong avenue here, but having spoken to a few people recently on that particular subject, it didn't sound to me that things were about to tick over and be announced.
Okay, Sutty says it's been suggested recently about playing someone alongside Wood up front. Would you play ASM in the short term there and play someone else on the left like Richie? I know the obvious is Gale. I mean, what's your thoughts? I thought Wood had a decent game on Saturday. The stats proved me to be correct. 15 headers, won. Did what Chris Wood does, and he needs a partner alongside him, really, to be able to perform to the best of his ability. What's your take on what might happen with Chris Wood over the next couple of months?
I mean, it was a strong physical performance at times, but well, I would think even he would argue probably wasn't one of his best performances. I think his first couple of games at Newcastle haven't been roaring success, but he's come in and done a job when they've needed a striker, and he could do with some support. And I'll keep saying this all day. A lot of people don't like it, but Alan St Maximin is more effective when he plays in a more central position. He's not as effective when he plays out on the wing. You don't want Alan St Maximin chasing fullbacks back 50 yards. You don't want him doing defensive work. You don't want Alan St Maximin picking the ball up in his own half most of the time, not in and around your box anyway. So I think Alan St Maximin is much more effective when he plays in a 2 up front and is given that license. So yeah, I'm all for that. I've said I would like to have seen a switch to the 5, with maybe Lewis coming in. And one thing I will disagree on that post is it definitely wouldn't be Matt Ritchie coming in the team for me. I think he's a long way. I think he's way past his best. Came in, did a job, brought a real winning intensity and energy into the team last season when it really needed it, and he can't be forgotten for that. But I think this season he's been almost what you would expect. His Premier League days look to probably be behind him, and that doesn't mean he's not been a fantastic servant and a good player for Newcastle United, and a good player around the place. But I think his days of performing in the Premier League are probably over.
Okay, the next question is from Joe Murphy. He says, Steve, experience seems to be valued by the club and Eddie in the transfer window. Do you think we're right to be focusing on older players given our precarious position at the moment? For me, yes. I think experience is much needed. And these players, I think, certainly the players that we seem to be focusing on are players for the now rather than the future. And we need players that are going to keep us up. Liam, am I right in that kind of assessment?
I don't think they're particularly deliberately targeting older players. I don't think that's the thing. I think they're just going out and signing good players who are available, or good players that they've scouted. I mean, if you look at the top targets that they've had, Sven Botman would have been a 21-year-old signing. Ekitike would be 17, 18. So the type of players that they're looking for isn't older players. It's not like they've deliberately targeted that. I think they've had to go through lists, drop down certain targets. They're probably, apart from Trippier, probably not going to get that top target in every position that they've gone for. Lingard may change that because I know he was very, very high up on the list. If Lingard comes through the door, which we're hoping over the next few days, that would be one, a little outlier. But the others, none of them would be the top target in each of one of their positions. Had to be brought in. Wood falls into that category, definitely. And others do too. Carlos also falls in that category to a large degree. And so would any other player that have been linked with, again, apart from Lingard, would be the one that I know he was very high up on all lists. And if they can get that deal done, I know there'll be a lot of happy faces in and around St James's Park because he is a player that's been linked for some time. Talks have been going on for a long time. And if they can get that one done, it would be a real shot in the arm to this team for me in a forward sense, but they would have to adjust the way they play.
Any news on Nunes from Benfica?
I can kind of echo the little bits and bobs. It's Mark Douglas who's been banging this drum of the eye. Mark, I've heard similar on Nunes. I'd heard Nunes probably in the run up to this window was potentially the top target when it came to centre forwards. I think again what I said with the Bazuma move is that fee is probably the difficult one. It would take a huge fee to take a player like that away from Benfica. You're probably talking the best part of 60 to 70 million pounds. So that's where I have reservations with that one. But again, doesn't fit the category of older players. He's a younger player with a lot of game time ahead of him in his career, and potentially a lot of game time at a very high level as well.
Are we looking at any left backs? Says Tom Dixon.
Yes, they are looking at left backs. My understanding is that the priority positions are they still want 2 central defenders. They want at least 1 midfielder, potentially 2. And a left back is probably the next best in terms of priority. I think they want another forward. I think get one. So if they had the window that everybody, if they could choose a perfect window, they'd probably be able to still get another 2, 4, 6 players through the door. But I suspect it'll probably be more like 4.
Okay, and next question is from Emmett. He says, lads, what do you think of the Liverpool penalty? Very similar to Ryan Fraser's in 2 different outcomes. Lots of inconsistency with VAR once again at the weekend, Liam.
The only thing the VAR has done for me is shine a light on how bad English refereeing is. Stubbornness, bizarre. Look, I've always said I think there's always a bias. I think there's always a top club bias in even refereeing decisions. I think that's absolutely the case. And I think VAR must just shines an even more stark light on that kind of thing, that you'll get top clubs get decisions and you get other clubs not. I see this meme doing the rounds where it says, instead of checking VAR or whatever, checking penalty decision, it says checking club badge. And I think there is a little bit of that. But even without VAR, there's always been that. Certain clubs will get certain decisions at home. Certain clubs will get certain decisions because of the intensity of media, speculation and pressure that will come on people, or the size of the player. You can't make a decision like that. Newcastle United have had it before. I mean, Alan Shearer got away with murder sometimes because he was the England captain, and it happens. Harry Kane's probably dealt with a little bit of that over recent years, that he gets away with a little bit more. It's just what happens. We just need to get ourselves up there, and then we can be worrying and looking from the other side of the fence.
Yeah, definitely do. Anything on Ramsey? Sounds like he's knocking everyone back at the minute. Yeah, he's knocked a couple of Premiership teams back, and people still holding out that potentially Ramsey could become a Newcastle player.
I don't think he'd knock back Newcastle. That's all I'll say on that one. I don't think he's knocked back Newcastle at all.
Okay, appointments in the boardroom. Majed Al-Sura joining the board. What do you think his role will be, and will it bring sponsorship from Gulf Saudi, says Chris Stewart?
So, again, I can only tell you what I know. I can't pretend to know more than I do, or talk about things I don't have an in-depth knowledge of. But this appointment, having been checked with high-level sources in the last 48 hours, since those bits and bobs started getting posted online, a couple of people sent it to me with regards to his LinkedIn posts, etc. There's only 3 members of the Newcastle United board, and as we stand, this is the word that's been sent to me. There are only 3 members, and that remains the case. And it hadn't been said there was going to be any changes. Of course, the man in question is always flanked by Yasser Al-Rumayyan every time the Saudi contingent are over for football matches. He's been a regular attendee. He was at the Tottenham game. He was at the recent Cup game. He was at the one in between. I can't remember which game it was that they came to, but he's been a regular attendee at St James's Park. But I can't give any more detail on that than the fact is, the official word is that there are only 3 members of the board. Of course, I've seen the report in the Times saying that he will be appointed and it's gone to Premier League approval. So that may take time. One interesting sideline to this story is, of course, when you checked his LinkedIn suggested that his experiences on LinkedIn said he'd been a board member at Newcastle United since July 2021. I don't think that's been the case, but that was what his LinkedIn said. Interestingly, his experiences, haven't checked again last night, didn't any mention at all of Newcastle United and being a board member. So read into that what you will. I don't know whether he's had come on, mate, take that down. You're leading up people up the garden path. You're fluffing your CV a bit there, mate. So I don't know what's happened with that one, but it'll be interesting to see. Look, I anticipate they will bring all that. There will be more of a Saudi contingent on the board over the coming months and years. But at the moment, I can't say with any certainty. I only have to read the same report as you guys that he will be brought onto the board, but that's not been the official word from Newcastle United so far.
Yeah, LinkedIn getting like Wikipedia by the sounds of it. What's the chances of getting Zapata? He's a top striker, would surely increase our chances of staying up, says Alan.
It's one I hadn't heard a great deal on, and it kind of falls into the Robin Gosens category as well. I don't know. I don't know on that deal. It might be a tough one to do. Again, do clubs really want to sell those level of quality of players? I'm not really 100% certain they do at this stage. But he is a player that's been on Newcastle United's scouting radar for about the best part of the last 4 to 5 years. He has been somebody that they've kept a close eye on, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's high up on their list of targets, given that Steve Nixon's got a heavy hand in picking transfer targets for this window.
Legal action is where Craig Southgate is going, and he's just wondering if there's double standards from Mike Ashley suing Amanda due to dissing his brand. He says, with the state of the way he left the brand that is Newcastle United, he says it's shocking. I mean, did this come as a bit of a shock to Newcastle United's owners that Mike Ashley was going to take them to court over money?
I don't think it was an absolute shock. I think it's Mike Ashley doing Mike Ashley things. He's very litigious when it comes to certain things, but I think there's as it's been said by others, and I can only echo those thoughts, is that I don't really think they believe that there's a massive case there, and I think they'd be surprised if there's anything progresses on that front. But again, it's a personal thing between Ashley and the new owners, not Newcastle United themselves. So ultimately, I wouldn't really concern yourselves with it as fans of Newcastle United.
Blue Moon Boy says, will we play the friendly in Saudi in the Castoria retro shirt as it has no sponsor? It's a nice shirt, he says, but yeah, I mean, sponsorship isn't allowed in Saudi, is it?
And we'll never know. We'll never know. We might not even see photos from that game, being brutally honest. So we'll probably never know if they do. It could be a game potentially played in training kit. It could be a game just played in shirts without sponsors on. Who knows? Honestly, I don't. I'm led to believe at the moment there isn't going to be any kind of imagery at all coming from that game. So I suppose we'll have to wait and see if there's any stills from the club photographer put out on the website. But I've had no word on what they will and won't wear during their trip.
Michael says, do you think that the £25 million spent on Wood is a waste of money? Seems like that's more of a preparation for their championships. I mean, I heard a lot of people mumbling and groaning about Chris Wood, but I think it's a good signing.
I think that's lunacy. I think that's lunacy saying he's more of a preparing for. There was nobody at this football club preparing anybody for the championship. There's nobody preparing for the championship. And I think Newcastle United fans are being stupid by even keep mentioning, like, oh, I know, but he'll be all right in the champ. Just stop with that mindset, the negative mindset. Manifest the fact that we're going to stay up. Let's all believe, let's all get behind. Forget about signing players for the championship. Not 1 ounce of any deal done in January is preparing Newcastle United for the championship. So don't even think it. It just isn't happening. On Wood and the value, if you purely take it as, is Chris Wood worth 25 million, which is what I think you're asking, he's not. No, he's not worth 25 million at all. But if he does a job, and it's not even doesn't have to score the goals to keep Newcastle United up, if he just does enough of a job to give them a platform to go and win games, for example, like at Leeds and others, then he's more than paid his money back, because staying in the Premier League is worth more than £25 million in Newcastle United. So it's a one that can only be judged in the summer. Am I going to say Chris Wood could be here for the next 3 to 4 years and score this, do that? Not sure. Could easily be a player that's gone in the summer again. But it was absolute that Newcastle United had to get somebody in, and they got somebody in a Premier League pedigree. So I think it's only fair to judge at the end of the season. And if Newcastle United stay up, no matter what Chris Wood's done, if he's contributed to that, then it's been worth it. That's my opinion.
Okay, good question, Michael. Thanks for that. Daniel says, I had a great voice on the way down to Leeds. Thanks, mate. Must have seen the video of us singing Grease in the car. Fantastic. Disappointing for Dummett, says Tim Cairns. He's our first choice on the left. However, his ongoing alignment is an issue, so we definitely need a replacement. Yeah, he's done well since he came back in, it has to be said, and he'll be a miss if he's out injured, but let's wait and see what happens over the next couple of weeks. When we signed Wood, we had the same stats as Kane. He had the same stats as Kane this season. If we'd signed Kane, would fans be talking the same rubbish? Look, Wood is definitely, not somebody who's going to get you 20 goals a season. We know that, but like Liam says, let's be sensible here. He's only been here a couple of games, and I guarantee he will get us 1 or 2 match winners before the end of the season. And Gavin says the same. Wood's price tag doesn't matter if we stay up. Wood has the same record as Wilson, so why are fans being critical? He's been here a week or two. And Hazardous says, nothing wrong with having realistic mindset. That's how I see, rather than being negative. It's a possibility at the end of the day. Leeds win was massive, and hopefully it gets us going. Sutty's just asking, would you have liked the trip to Saudi? I'm sure you would have.
Yeah, of course I would have. I think anybody would have, but it's been closed to the UK media. I believe I was told that there will be some kind of press conference, a little bit of access to potentially Eddie Howe or players. So we'll wait and see how that one plays out.
Paul just wants to know what happens to the 25-man squad rule. Do we have to drop players out of the squad if we keep signing players? I think you touched on this earlier, just about the goalkeeping situation, didn't you, for instance?
Yeah. There'll only be 25 players named in the squad. Probably after by the Friday after the window. They'll have to name the 25-man squad. Everybody of age qualifies in it, so you can't leave certain players out. You have to name 25 if you've got 25 overage players in your squad. So there'll be 25 named. I think Newcastle United will do everything they can in that last day or two of the window to make sure they get everybody out that isn't going to be in that 25-man squad. I think it's not ideal for anybody to just leave players sort of twiddling their thumbs between now and the end of the season, but again, that's another thing that can't be ruled out.
John Gandhi says, have you heard anything on Rudy Galletti's story about disagreeing personal terms with Rogerio, the left back from Sassuolo?
I would be very careful. This isn't particular to Rudy at all, but I'd just be very careful of accounts that just syndicate and pull together rumours from everywhere and just repeat them as their own stories. The Rogerio one, that doesn't apply to Rudy at all. I'm just saying that there are 4 or 5 accounts out there who have massive followings, some from Portugal, Italy, Spain, others. And I'm talking about individuals here who are making a name for themselves as being transfer gurus, transfer people. They're following the Fabrizio Romano model, who is very successful in what he does. And they're being copycats. Look, a lot of them are just copying what we say, what local media and all the different. They're just good observers, and they're punting rumours out to other markets. It's playing different people in different areas off against each other. So he'll repeat everything that's said in the Northeast, and somebody in Italy will say, "Oh, well, look, he got those ones right," because all he did was repeat what everybody said in the Northeast of England. And then there'll be somebody in Spain saying, "Oh, well, he got all those ones in Portugal right." And he'll just be repeating what the Portuguese media are saying. And it's just playing everybody off against each other. Don't be fooled by them. You can spot them a mile off. I can anyway, and I hope you guys can too. Anyway, back to the question. Rogerio, he's a player that was on the transfer radar, I think, about 2 years ago. So again, like I say, with Nixon driving a lot of the identification of particularly foreign players in this window for transfers, then it wouldn't surprise us if he featured on the list of players as they've gone down the left-back targets.
Okay, what about Hodgson? Do you think he'll have a positive impact at Watford, says David R. Guess it makes a little difference to us if we win a lot more games. Still hope we can sign Ramsey.
I think if they go get Hodgson, it's a fantastic appointment. I think he's in a much better. He's much better than Ranieri, who was nailed on for relegation the minute he was appointed. has been a persistent failure in his career mostly, apart from these amazing outlying sort of Leicester was an anomaly almost in his managerial career over the last 15 years. But yeah, I think Roy Hodgson's a solid Premier League performer, somebody who doesn't do relegation. And I think that would be the concern, that if they do go and get him, Roy Hodgson doesn't do relegation. And I think if anybody's going to pull this Watford team together, which looks like a bunch of individuals thrown together rather than a team itself, I think if anybody's going to do it, he can. But you only focus on yourself. Newcastle United need to go and win games. And if Newcastle United keep performing and showing the battle like they did against Leeds, they'll not win a load of games because they'll come up against much better teams. But I think they'll probably win enough games to stay in the division. And that's without even talking about players coming into the football club, which, like I said, I think there'll be quite a few.
Any truth in the Diaz from Blackburn coming to Newcastle? I mean, it's a player that I've said on numerous occasions I'd love to see come, but any signs of that, or is that, again, just a rumour?
It's not one I'd heard was definitely going to happen or anything like that. So I think we'll wait and see.
Are you concerned about the only being like a week left in the transfer window and only 2 signings coming in, Liam?
I'm not concerned. No, I'm not concerned at all. I always thought the deals would get done late. I've said this on here that they wanted more deals done and they tried to get more deals done, but it was always going to be a late one. Just the nature of the window. It's the way it happens. And I'm still fully confident at this point that they will at least get, like I say, I think the bare minimum will be another 3 players through the door. And I just think about what 3 first-team starters potentially could do for this Newcastle United side. It would be a real injection of quality. If that's the bare minimum, if that's the basic of what they can produce on Saturday, and you add quality to that, and we don't go back to the dark days of Cambridge and Watford, if we stay at that level and add 3 bits of quality at least, and that's a bare minimum, then I think we'll be all right. Actually, I think if they can keep the Leeds thing up, but if they drop back to Watford levels of performance, 3 players wouldn't be enough.
Anything on Dembele, says Tom?
Again, it's another one I've talked about a lot in here. It's talks that have gone on for quite some time. It's a weird situation. I think there's it's like a game of poker going on over there at Barcelona. And I think if Dembele becomes available, I get the feeling if he's 100% available, which we're still not absolutely clear on that one. I think there will be better placed clubs than Newcastle United willing to snap him up. That would be what I would say about it.
Any players left behind, says Michael, on the Saudi trip?
Not to my knowledge, but there has been obviously some, but not to my knowledge. Not for anybody left out because of COVID, etc. I hadn't heard any sort of suggestions on that front, to be honest. So no, I don't know. Sorry, I can't answer that one.
And this one from John. Do you think we're looking either or deals for Ali and Lingard, or are we trying to loan them both? He says he thinks getting both of them would be transformative.
I think it's probably either. I don't think there'll be both. But you never know. Like I say, you never know.
Mr. Pellier says, if you could sign one more player in the transfer window, any player in the world, who would you sign? That's a really hard question, that. Liam, I'll hand to you first.
I'm just going to stay realistic and using the current situation. I really like the idea of Botman, so I'd want him in. I think a centre half, bringing a centre half of that size, stature, ability, age, profile, I think will be a really, really positive move for Newcastle United, and see why they went for it. Having done a fair bit of research, I'm not going to say I was a league on expert going into this January transfer window, but I've obviously done a lot of reading and watching of the player, and I think he would be a fantastic addition for Newcastle United.
It's a difficult one, this, because obviously we haven't been linked with a multitude of forwards. I think we'll be okay at the back for the end of the season if we can bring in a creative midfielder, and you need somebody who's going to score goals. So for me, I'd put that 10 million into Manchester United's bank today and get Lingard in on loan because he scores goals. And we need somebody who's going to be a fox in the box, which he can, running from midfield. He'll change the whole dimension of Newcastle United's team. So for me, it would have to be a creative player.
Yeah, actually, he was one that I was almost going to say myself as well. I think if you've got to be realistic, I think a level of player like Lingard Lingard would generate the kind of positive reaction that Trippier did. He's of the same level. I think that's the type of level that Newcastle United should and are targeting. If you're going to ask us about this question below, anybody who watches this will know my thoughts on Nat Phillips. I don't think that's the type of signing that takes Newcastle United any further forward than what they are at the minute.
Okay, just want to ask you a little bit about the situation at Leeds. I mean, you and I were both on the ground early on Saturday, but yeah, very concerning about the crush that happened outside, and great to see the Newcastle Supporters Trust and the Leeds Supporters Trust acting quickly to address the situation with Leeds United and West Yorkshire Police. Has there been any updates on that, or are they looking into what happened?
So we've managed to get some first-hand accounts from fans, and if anybody else is out there wants to tell their story, it can only help with regards getting the picture cleared up. But we've put some of that to the football club again today, and going back over the situation, it was a shocker. It was a shocker listening to the type of things that people have been feeding back from their experiences at Ellen Road on Saturday. Things like that should not happen. Not with the amount of personnel that there are at matches. We're talking stewards and police, and there was a big police presence there on Saturday, as there always is with Newcastle United and Leeds. But there was a lot of personnel on the ground there in Leeds city centre and beyond. And I think they all let themselves down, allowing that situation. There were mitigating circumstances. Certain things happened. It was a catalogue of errors, but you shouldn't get into situations like that. And it was funny coming out of the ground, talking with a few other journalists, and we talk about the how much transformation is needed at St James's Park. If you're by Leeds United, that ground's like something out of League One. It is old, rickety, old style football ground. I don't think the setup and the way the grounds, the approaches and things. I don't think everything's. I don't think it's up to scratch really for the Premier League. But look, we'll put out any first-hand accounts to the football club, and we'll go back to the police on that regard. So anybody wants to tell their story of what they experienced, then please, my DMs are open on Twitter, so just drop us a message.
Quick one from Tom Dixon, just about Almiron. Is that right that he's asked for talks at the end of the season?
Don't know. I've not heard that, but I mean, really, would you be so desperate to hang on to somebody like Almiron, who has, let's be brutally honest about it, had an awful season? He's had absolutely no impact in a forward or defensive sense, and I think we've come to the point with Almiron now where I think we'll probably see the player move on. I'd be surprised if we didn't. Of course, the manager might be seeing things different than me, and I know he's talked in good terms of someone like Miggy Almiron, but for me, I think I would be looking in the summer to maybe upgrade in terms of forward quality, and he would be one of the ones I'd look to shift on.
Okay, just a quick plug for Newcastle World, Liam. We got there in the end. We've done well with the technical difficulties, but give us a quick plug, please.
We got there. I've been wobbling about my phone here instead. I've had to drop the laptop. But yeah, newcastleworld.com. Just check it out. We've got plenty of stuff on the Leeds United debacle from the weekend. In terms of off the field stuff and the positive stuff from on it. We've got all sorts of news, travel, just anything and everything you'd want about the city of Newcastle. Just check Newcastle World out. It's obviously my new project we've been heavily involved in since around August last year, and thank you for all your support, everybody out there, because the product is 100% going in the right direction and growing. So we're going from strength to strength, month on month. So, and that can only be done with the likes of you guys out there, clicking, reading, interacting with the videos that we put online, with the posts that we put online. So yeah, keep up the good work, and thank you for your support.
Don't forget, we have got our summer do organised. The Newcastle NUFC Matters Summer Party is the 17th of June at the Irish Centre. And we have a Morrissey tribute act, Viva Morrissey, something a bit different. Tickets are available on Voucher today. I think they're around about £7 or £8. So get yourself along and we can all meet in a warmer climate and have a summer pint together at the end of the season. Hopefully celebrating staying up and looking ahead to the transfer window, the summer transfer window, another one. But yeah, get your tickets. They're on Voucher, or you can go to newcastlelegends.com, buy your tickets on there. Don't forget as well, the Chris A t-shirt is still on my Twitter, at Steve Wraith. Get the bids in. Already some great money going towards that. But at Steve Wraith, it's pinned to the top. Get your money in for that one. It's for the food bank. Liam, great to have you on, mate. Take care, and we'll see you next week.
Cheers. Cheers.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's